Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey, hey.
Oh, Frank, you are in trouble. Big trouble.
All right. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you're right, that I am in big trouble. What exactly would that mean?
Look at me. Look at your future. Now, if you don't change your ways, you're gonna wind up doomed, just as I am.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about their favorite flicks from childhood. I'm Sweetie.
And I'm Sweetie.
And today we're covering another Christmas classic. This is one of our Christmas movies that we do actually like, even though we don't love Christmas. But this is one that I think have some family memories associated with, or at least watching it with our family. So the movie is Scrooged. Given a helping hand, burning my manly hands. Put a little love in your heart. Wow, she belted it.
And the world will be a better place, and the world
You go
will
so.
be a better place.
You're like the most
with you.
impressive. What's that called? Just like your voice is crescendo? I don't know. Like your voice is just like so loud. I can't.
I'm meant to be on Broadway. I have been practicing my Broadway belt since the age of 5. Thank you. It has paid off 30 years later on this podcast.
Great. So happy for you.
Guess when this movie came out?
Oh, let's see. If you look at your notes, it says 1988.
Wrong. What? Just kidding. Right. No. You're so right. 1988, guys. Shocker for me. Did not know this. Totally did not know. Directed by Richard Donner, director of The Goonies. Hello, one of my favorite movies ever. And I think some other action flicks we're not sure about. But for us, The Goonies, faux show. And you can totally tell because there's several people who was in The Goonies in this film. We'll go over it later. It was kind of amazing. It was like a Goonies reunion movie. Amazing. But obviously, what is the most famous aspect of this movie is that it stars the one, the only
Billy Murray.
But an even a greater piece of trivia, most of his brothers.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that.
pretty
Thought
amazing.
of you.
Yeah, I was like going crazy. I was like, what? And what is his actual brother who plays his brother?
Who were his brothers in the movie? I forgot to even pay attention.
Do we want to go over this now or later?
Fine, later.
Okay.
All right.
To come. TK. Do you know that to come in publishing world is TK?
Well, I was going to say, cum starts with a C,
Yeah.
so...
But in publishing, for some reason, it's TK, because I think TC means table of contents or something.
TOC means
Yeah.
table of contents.
Or something. But it's like too close to another abbreviation. Work chatter, not important. Yeah, so this is like such a great, like, not like anti-Christmas movie. It's just like different, you know? It's like, I don't know, like what makes it like seem so different to you in terms of like a traditional Christmas movie? Well, I know it's like a riff on very classic.
I don't know, because it's like a person who's anti-Christmas and is played by Bill Murray, whose character is so sarcastic all the time. I don't know. That's funny, and it's like funny, not just like this is a Christmas movie, haha, funny stuff.
Well, okay, someone could say, well, this is a modern take on The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, but it really goes like another step further in that. What
do you mean? How?
Well, just because it's like, I don't know. I find this movie so odd and interesting, and I read about how basically like Bill Murray improv'd all his lines, and like once you know that, you can kind of tell, not in a bad way, but just kind of like how random it, like some of, I don't know. It just seems like random isn't the right word. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Okay,
but yes, we watched this movie as kids very much. Couple things stand out for me. Do you want to hear them?
Well, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the thing's just like,
You're probably going to mention my scary scenes, but whatever.
No, not even scary. Okay. Let's just do one thing that you remember, and then we can go back over like after the synopsis. Okay. So the main thing that I always remember about this movie is the Carol Kane Ghost of Christmas Present scene, where she's like constantly hitting Bill Murray, and that was like incredibly stressing to me because she was like such a sweet little fairy, and like I was like, oh my god, she's so cute and amazing, and then she's like so annoying and violent, and it was like such a weird emotion I had as a kid watching this, because it was like really hard for me to watch her keep hitting Bill Murray. Like it was kind of traumatizing.
She didn't like it either.
I know.
She was upset. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. When I was watching this, like that was kind of stressing me out, and I was like, wait, who's the person that actually gets really stressed out by this? I was like, oh, I think it's Sweetie. I like remembered that. Well, for me, I mean, if I had to pick one other than Carol Kane, I guess I would say the taxi driver ghost.
Good call.
Because it confuses me, because it's just like that scene in Ghostbusters where the guy gets in the cab and it's like, and it like speeds off, and then it turns around and it's like a skeleton. I think I always mix these two up because Bill Murray's in both of them, and that's a similar scene. But I will always remember that cab driver's face and his like scary teeth. Yeah.
Okay, this is like really weird, but I like looked for maybe 20 minutes to make sure that cab driver actor was not the Grueler guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the basketball player who like turns into a vampire. They look so similar, and I was like,
way
wait.
older.
Yes, but I was kind of trying to do the math. I'm like, oh, 88, and like whenever Buffy was, and he's like barely did any acting. He's mostly like a musician or something like that.
He's Bill Murray's friend.
Yeah. But he was great in that. Yeah, I will say that like for me, that the parts where the ghosts come, and I'm sure this is like kind of par for the course with the Christmas Carol story, is when the ghost comes are the most exciting parts. All the parts in between, at least in this watching, like kind of dragged for me a little bit, and I was like, when's the next ghost coming? Like those are actually what's like really fun, and I think they do like the best job of at, because the others are just a little too like Bill Murray improvising for like minutes on end in those scenes.
Yeah, especially the end.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, like what's all this? But I really got into the spirit by the end. I was singing that song, the "Put a Little Love in Your Heart" song.
I don't know any of the words,
Me
but I
neither.
just know the melody. And
Oh man, and I just like was suddenly in like a great Christmas mood, and I was like, okay, this movie totally worked. Worked on me. Mini Scrooge. So I feel like I really am like in the spirit this year.
Okay,
versus maybe other
Right.
years.
Well, you're not a heartless, cold beast, so
No.
I think you're a couple steps ahead of Frank. So.
No, definitely. But sometimes I'm like, Christmas boring, same old shit. But I think because we're doing something a little different this year, and we have this amazing podcast, and what else?
So many things.
My life is amazing. Just kidding.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I think let's start with synopsis, or do we want to start with people who are in it?
Synop.
All right, let's go for the synopsis. It's time for the sweet synopsis. Yeah.
Sweeties.
Lumpy.
Good one. Me too. Lumpy quotes. Do you have quotes around
Yes.
it? Oh my god.
Okay.
We have to take a picture.
Okay, you guys.
We have to take a picture of that.
So Sweetie has a babysitting job now and like gets home late. So we have to now watch the movies apart, which is like super sad, but it's been working out. But how great is that? We still have the same notes, even though we watch the movies apart. Oh my God. Sweeties for life. Yeah.
Sweeties. Okay. Frank Cross is the president of television at IBC. We don't know. What does that stand for? I don't know.
International Broadcasting Company. I
Sure.
feel like.
Okay. He's an asshole, plain and simple. He's a terrible human being who treats his employees very badly. He's really into like the whole like violent sex sells thing. So his team pitches him a promo for this special like live a Christmas Carol play. And he's like, it's terrible. Like, I'm going to have to kill all of you. And and then he plays the one that he would prefer. And it's like, terrorism, road rage. It's like, it didn't make any sense. And he's like, this is what we need. So that just gives you a little flavor of the kind of person he is. One of the men in the room is Bobcat Goldthwait.
Love that name.
And he speaks like this. It's really annoying, and I don't like it. And he's like, Mr. Cross. He's like, oh, well, sir, I was thinking that, maybe this one is a little better. And then Frank Ross is like, okay, yeah, that's great. And then he tells his assistant, Alfre Woodard, that, named Grace, alias Grace, that, who is that guy? And she's like, Elliot, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, he's fired. I hate him. Which, okay, I know this is supposed to show that he's a terrible person, but I would fire that guy too because his voice is so fucking annoying.
That's discriminatory.
Whatever.
No, you don't fire someone the day before Christmas. That is heartless and
Yes,
cold.
that is, yes.
Which
So this is
what
Christmas
it's
Eve. Yeah.
proven to show.
So he did that. Grace is like has this sweet picture on her wall that her son drew for her, and Frank's like, this is horrible. This is awful art. And he like tears it down and crumples it up. Like what?
And then my favorite thing, and makes him like truly the cold hardest bastard in the world, is that he gives towels for Christmas. Everybody, towels. That always stuck with me as a little kid. I was like, what
Not
a
just
shitty
one.
gift.
It's like one bath towel.
Yeah.
Which is
One.
that a hand towel?
Right.
Or
and then his like Grace is like, what about my Christmas bonus? He's like, you get a face cloth with yours.
it's so sad. And she's like single mom of like 5 kids, and it's just awful. So we established he's a terrible person. Late at night, he is visited by the ghost / really skeleton of his former boss /
it was supposed to be like
partner?
Jacob Marley
right
in the
yes,
story.
I know her.
Yeah.
And his name is Lou Hayward, and he's like all crusty dusty. It's like Sweetie's least favorite part. She's freaking out right now. We'll talk about it later. I know. The mouse in the head
goes back into the
I
head.
know. It's very upsetting, even for me. And I don't really have a problem with mice. But he tells him that don't waste your life like I did. You're going to be visited. It's not too late for you. You're going to be visited by 3 ghosts. First one comes tomorrow at noon. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then there's like crazy things that happen. And Frank's like, it's all a dream. And then he wakes up. He's like, that was not real. But then he finds a golf ball in his mouth. So you're like, Oh, no, it was the ice cube in the drink. And so he's like, freaks out, calls his old gal pal, Claire, who he hasn't seen in 15 years.
I really have a problem with this. And I wrote down, what did I write down here? Seemed like a really quick reunion after 20 years of basically like ghosting each other.
Yeah, pretty fucking weird. So it leaves her a weird panicked voicemail. Great. And then next day, he's an asshole still. But then the first ghost comes, and it's the ghost of Christmas past. And it's a cab driver. He doesn't have a name. His name is Ghost Christmas Past. I was going to be like, and his name is Billy. No. And he kind of just gives Frank a tour of his past and like reminds him of certain things like.
Well, like how, so it really starts when he's a little kid. So you find that he grew up in a house. His dad was a butcher. Clearly, like not a lot of love for him. The mom was really sweet, but like kind of had her hands full. Her husband was a dick.
Total dick.
And little Frank spent his hours in front of the TV. He just loved TV. So this shows you like how he kind of had not the greatest family life, but also like why his TV, let's say, became his family, right? Second scene is him at an office party with an amazing, what do you call it?
Curly mullet.
Curly mullet, exactly. Bell-bottom jeans. I mean, he looked great. He looked like that guy in My Girl 2 who's in like Veda's writing class with the glasses. Come on, think about it. Think about it.
Good one.
So at this point, he's like working for a television station. So he's like super into his job. And there's an office party, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to party. Like, I just want to like pass out these flyers, whatever." Like, he was just some like errand paper pusher boy there, right? Mm-hmm. But then, and everyone's like, "Frank, enjoy the party. Like, everyone, did you notice there's a party around here?" And some girl like flirts with him, and he's like, "Nah, like I'm good." But it's this night. So Frank, on all these little things, goes back every night on Christmas Eve, because it's Christmas Eve now. So he keeps going back to that same night just so many years in the past, right? So this night, he actually meets Claire for the first time. So he's coming out of a store, and they like bump heads or something, right? They have this like kind of sweet little interchange.
Lumpy.
Yeah. And so he was like really serious on that like TV track, but they met and then they started dating. So then the next year is them having been together for a year, and they live together, and it's Christmas, and they give gifts, and it's like all really sweet. So he's like looking through the window at all this, kind of remembering how he used to be, I guess, and getting pretty sad. I think he cries on like most of these like little outings, right? Well, his parents, once he cried, because I think he like was
when
just,
he's like, love you, mama.
yeah, and
His
she was
mom,
like, yeah. So his mom clearly loved him. His dad was like a bitch, bastard, whatever you want to call it. And then next scene, he is, what's the dog's name?
I forget.
Frisbee,
the dog. Children's television show. He dresses up as the big dog. Claire comes to get him, but right before that, his boss, Lou Hayward, aka corpse golfer, is like, hey, why don't you come to dinner with me and my mistress? Bring your girl. What's her name? Claire. Yeah, Claire. And then Claire shows up and she's like, okay, are you ready? We're going to be late. And Frank says, oh, we can't go anymore because my boss just invited us and blah, 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 blah. He's like, I can't let him down. Like, we have to do this. And she's like, what? No, it's Christmas Eve. Like, we've had these plans forever. Like, it's our friends, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, they break up because of this, which is like, I don't know if they had fights before this, but it seemed pretty lame to me. You don't separate like just from this, but she starts realizing that like all he really cares about is like his job, I think. Right. So that's starts.
But he like
the end
totally
of the relationship.
gaslights her because he like turns around being like, you never care about my things, and I'm like, dude.
Well, right. That's what I wrote down like such a quick turn to asshole because he was like so nice before this moment, and then like all of a sudden there's no gradual change here. It's just like instant flip switch to asshole.
Yeah. Well, I think in his case, like he was in such the lowest totem pole still as being dressed up as a dog on TV, that like he did see this as like, okay, I've been recognized and like this is my shot, like I have to take it. But I don't think he really like described that to Claire very well, so it just looked like he was blowing her off or picking, you know, the job over like Christmas Eve with your family and friends.
Guys, sit down and talk about this. God, don't make any rash decisions on Christmas Eve.
So it looks right. So it looks like to the viewer that that's where that relationship ended, as we said, like 20 years before. So, and then he becomes this big. You assume he becomes this big wig. He's like the VP or president of that company, right?
He's president. I think.
Yeah. So then that all ends, and the cab drops him back off in present day. And at this point, he's sort of like it's all the night before the filming of this Christmas Carol show, this live Christmas Carol show. So he's like in and out of that between visiting all these like different parts of his life. So you have like that kind of whole like aspect to it. So like behind the scenes of that, there's like this producer guy of the show that he hates, and he keeps trying to like basically like get out of the picture, who ironically is the kind of jerky boss guy from Gremlins 2.
He's not jerky.
Right.
Remember,
he's really
we decided we liked him.
But he always plays like a funny, like a little, whatever you call that. Almost like a producer, but like that kind of a mentality guy. By the Bobcat Goldthwait guy who was laid off or fired has now been drinking all day, is getting like a gun and getting ready for, basically to do some damage at the place that laid him off. He is sort of reuniting with Claire.
Yeah, she comes to the studio. She's like, "Oh, I got your message. I haven't seen you in 15 years, but hey,
let me come running." Like, Claire, what the fuck?
It's really weird. And of course, she's still single. Yeah, right. And they're like, "Great." And then, but she's still basically an asshole, and she kind of gets a sense. But she's like, "All right, come visit me at this homeless shelter I work at downtown. Like, if you have these feelings again." So then the ghost of Christmas Present comes, played by Carol Kane, who's this bubbly pink fairy who beats Bill Murray up, builds Frank up the rest of her time on Earth. So she takes him around to what's happening circa now. So he visits in on his secretary Grace's home, where he realizes that she has this cute little mute son who has been mute ever since he saw his father killed 5 years ago. Which, another question, he's about 5, it looks like to me. So how did he remember seeing his dad shot when he was a baby? Yeah, how old is he? Calvin, how old are you?
We have the same notes.
Yes,
this is the best.
This is amazing.
That was total mess. They
weird.
should not have said 5 years because that kid is 5 years old.
He's definitely 5 years old.
He was 0 when he saw his dad
6 years old.
Was he in the womb? Maybe he was in the womb.
Very bizarre. Anyways, so he feels pretty bad about that.
He's like, I'm going to give her a raise.
Yeah, which like, oh, good. And then he sees his brother, who's like having a smashing party with his friends. Looks pretty fun. They open presents. They make fun of him because he always gives his brother Frank like a nice gift, and Frank always gets him like a towel or a shower curtain. I guess last year, But his secretary actually sent him the VCR, which Frank was gonna send him the bath towel.
Yeah. And for 1988, getting a VCR is like,
Big
what?
deal, yeah. So he's like, wow, maybe he's turning around. And then I forget what happens. They like make fun of him some more.
Remember they give a big cheer, and his wife is like, why do you even bother getting him anything? You know, he doesn't care. You invite him here every year, and it doesn't matter. He never comes. And he's like, well, he's always been my big brother. I'll always love him. And he was like so touched by that, hearing his brother say that. And he's just like so not used to dealing with emotions, and he doesn't really have family. So it's like that one family he has left, and his brother still really cares for him, which was really nice.
Suits nice. Is that the only two places he visits?
No, and then doesn't he see the homeless guy frozen? That's past?
Oh,
or
no,
future?
you're right. But I forget we didn't talk about how he met them. So he goes to see Claire at the homeless shelter and meets this homeless guy. What's his name?
Leonard?
Glenn? No, I don't know. Think of it later.
Yeah.
And so Christmas present. Oh, at the end, the guy's like, "Can you get me some money so I can heat my house tonight?" And Frank's like, "Oh, sorry, try in there. Someone's a sucker," and he walks away. Again, this reminds me of Groundhog's Day.
Yes.
But in the present, the ghost shows him. They go down to this like sewer, and that homeless guy is down there, frozen solid like an ice cube. And it's pretty scary. And he's like, shit, I should have given you money. And then like leaves. Okay. So Christmas present over.
Yep.
One ghost left.
Yep. One ghost left. So continues to be like stuff going that's really close to the broadcast of this, like, was it supposed to be at midnight or something? Like, what
Who's
is that?
staying up until midnight watching some shitty television thing?
And so he's waiting for this last ghost, and this is part is funny.
Oh my God, I love this part.
First he sees like what is like looks like a Grim Reaper character. He's like, "Oh, you came for me!" Like,
No, he's like, "Get away from me!" and starts like punching
Punching
him and shit. I love it.
But it's actually the Ghost of Christmas Future in the play. He's like, "Sorry, man, sorry."
It's pretty funny.
But then,
Sets it up
something
perfectly.
very similar arrives, and he's in the elevator with him. He's like, "Oh, it's just you again." Like, haha, whatever. And then he's like not talking. And this ghost is much taller
So tall.
and like spookier. And my favorite part is he like looks into his robes, and there's like people, like little mini people, like writhing in his rib cage and like, "Let me out!"
It's so scary.
He looks twice. It's not
And
just
then he
once.
like, and then again, he's like, "Do our people do that? We're gonna get some calls."
Yeah.
And then he realizes like it's the actual Ghost of Christmas Past. So then it gets all sad, and we see Claire is like a scary porcelain doll faced rich lady. Why?
I don't know why
is
she
with
suddenly
that?
went to
Like, is she a China doll?
makeup.
Weird. And so she's an asshole now because whatever he said to her at the homeless shelter like broke her spirit. So she's terrible now.
Scrape them off, Claire.
Grace's mute son is in a mental institution, and he sees himself dead in a coffin, being burnt, cremated. So that's it. And that really like snaps him out of it. And he's like, "No, I don't want to die." And then boom, back in present day. He has a change of soul. He finds that guy he fired and is like, "I'm going to rehire you at like twice the salary," and like blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on the set and like interrupts like the final scene and is like, "Everything is great. Look at all these people. I love Christmas." I don't know. It's just like
this long improv.
It's like 20 minutes
Yeah.
of like Bill Murray saying things.
Right.
And that's it. And everybody sings a song at the end, and he's saved. His soul is saved.
He tells Claire to
yeah.
come down. So Claire comes down, and then they get together. And the best, most important, my favorite part is that Calvin, little mute Calvin, says something finally. So he's like closing off the broadcast, and little Calvin comes up to me. He's like, "Psst, you forgot something. God bless us, everyone." And, that's the last line. Or Tiny Tim says that in the Christmas Carol, right? And everyone's like, "Oh!" And then he picks him up, and he's like, "Oh, little man!" Like, and it's so adorable.
It's really sweet.
I got weepy.
It's really sweet. But I don't know, just question Calvin's like, really? That's what makes him talk again? I don't know.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever.
Yep.
So that's a flick. Yep. So pretty cool. Good version of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah. What do you feel about that original story?
I mean, I've always loved that. I love that story and the way
really
it's been
good.
done. So many versions. You got your Muppets. You got your Star Trek guy, right? He was Scrooge once.
Yep.
I feel like we
Patrick
watched that
Stewart.
on Christmas one time.
I think we might have.
I was in a Christmas Carol play in
Whoa.
middle school. I was the sweetheart. Claire. You can call me Claire. And yeah, I mean, it's awesome and I love it. And it's such a good modern day spin to have him be a television exec. And
Well, and it opens itself up for so many good different renditions of it, like they did here, like very cleverly. Do it in like the heyday of the 80s when you're talking about these like giant television stations and doing these like live broadcasts and having that like, you know, yuppies 80s
Oh my
and how
God.
like money is such a
So
big deal and whatever.
funny, the beginning of this, I was like watching it and I was like, I do not remember this opening scene because it's like this very, I thought it was,
I'm like, is this right?
I thought it was the Santa Claus the movie again, and that because we had bought that on my same Amazon account, and I was like, oh shit, did I press the wrong one? So it's like this old school like elf scene, and it's super cheesy, and then the elf's like, Santa, look, and you see the North Star like coming down, but then it like explodes, and all these bad guys with guns come out and start shooting up the joint, and Mrs. Claus is like, we gotta get him. She opens his cabinet, and there's all these machine guns, and then there's firing, and like the $6 million man comes, and it's funny. And then they go into all these little Christmas promos. And my favorite, it's like all these funny things like Father Loves Beaver. And my favorite, Bob Goulet's Old Fashioned Cajun Christmas. He's like on a boat with a paddle. I fucking love it. It's so funny. But it's great. And then yeah, so that was hilarious. And then the other, I'm just going to go into hilarious parts right now, but like the other part I totally forgot about, and I was like peeing my pants laughing, is can you stop smoking like right before I'm about to say something funny? You're really messing with me here. So this is the part where he's in the restaurant and he sees like he keeps like hallucinating all these things, and he looks over at this waiter who's serving somebody like a baked Alaska, and his arm, he like lights the dish on fire, and then his arm catches on fire, and he's like and then Bill Murray's like, oh god, and then he looks again and the guy's not on fire, he's just serving the baked Alaska, but then he goes back to talking, looks back at the waiter, and the guy's like even more engulfed in fire, like flailing. I don't know why I think it's so funny.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and then he goes, sorry, I thought you were Richard Pryor.
Sad off-color joke. Alluding to when Richard Pryor set himself on fire
After smoking too much cocaine.
Oh god.
And then he like, I didn't know the
And
part
walked
where he
down the
walked down
street.
the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty crazy. But yeah, that part's hilarious. Yeah,
a lot of like great little calls like that, to the point, again, reading that this was like much improvised by Bill Murray, and Richard Donner was like, wow, that was like really painful to make, because basically it was just like Bill Murray just like riffing like forever, and that was like really hard to direct, and like sometimes like that is hilarious, and it's like all those like random little things that he thinks up is like amazing, but sometimes it can get a little bit like, okay,
Yeah.
like let's focus here, let's focus on the prize.
So even though I think we watched this a good amount when we were little, but I remember just being very scared by it. And
Yeah.
there's a few
It's
really
scary.
scary scenes. So specifically for me as a child, I was afraid of the following things. The Ghost of Christmas Future in general. It's just very scary, especially,
Reaper.
well, he's the Ghost of Christmas Future.
But it looks like the Grim Reaper. Yeah.
Especially the little people in his rib cage, because you just don't expect to see that when like if someone's opens someone's chest area, you're not like, oh, I bet there's going to be some scary little things in there. No, I was not prepared for that as a child, and it happens twice. It's very upsetting.
But my favorite is then when they're at the end and everyone's like celebrating with the Christmas thing, and the little people have like presents and holly berries and stuff.
It makes it a little better. It makes it go down a little easier. And then the scene in the end where he's burning in the coffin because he's inside the coffin being cremated.
That
and
made
it's
me
just,
really
like, just on
rethink
fire.
about choosing cremation for how I'd
I know.
want to die.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
that always scared the shit out of me. The frozen homeless guy in the sewer, that scared the shit out of me because it's so eerie. And how long was he down there? Does that happen? What? I don't think he turned to like an actual icicle.
No, he was just
Anyways, and then lastly, and I'm sure you will agree, but the mice in the dead guy's head, oh my god, or everything having to do with that guy in general, because there's that scene. There's the scene where like his arm breaks off into like chalk dust, where he's like mixing a drink and all everything. Yeah. So, but the mice scene in particular is just crazy. Like Okay, so it's like a skeleton, right? And then you see the back of his head, and this like little thing pops out,
And
like
the
his
squeaking.
skin, and you hear squeaking, and then a golf ball rolls out,
Very
and then a
close.
mouse comes out and like crawls down, and then
But
back
the
in,
back end is the worst part. It's not just gone; it like lives in the head.
and then he like gets close to Frank and has like corpse breath. I don't know, everything about that scene
That
just like
whole
always
guy. And he had like
scared
shot him
me.
a bunch of times, so he
Yeah.
like mixes a drink and like he drinks his rum and whatever, and all of them it falls out of the holes. I mean, that whole guy is like, ugh. That's what you look like after being
Pretty
buried
fucking
in the ground
gross.
for 7 years. I don't want to know.
I know, and those were my scary scenes.
Oh my god. I will add. Wait, frozen homeless guy always freaked me out.
Yes.
Yeah, I think those are all mine too, though. Cab driver, like friendly but scary. Scary seeing a fairy beating up someone all the time, so that's really scary too. Cremation part, so scary. Yeah. So, other things that really stood out for me as a child that I always remember and then saw now. Are they called the solid gold ball dancers? The solid gold dance? I think it's the solid gold dancers. Okay, those
my
girls
God.
freaked me out. So first of all, I did not remember, and we only saw this on TV. So the part where they're like, we can't have them wear these outfits. You can see her nipples. And like, you can really see her nipples. There are giant nipples, and they're a good quarter top half of them. And it was gross.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Remember that part.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
But yeah, we must have always seen it on TV.
And that guy is like, you can't see her nipples. That like old,
Oh, yeah.
like the crew members they
he
have there.
improvised that line
Yeah.
and said, "Good times." Yeah,
Yep.
they're weird. I hate their outfits.
Their
They're wearing
whole-
these like
They're basically like
tuxedo
thongs, though.
jackets, long, but obviously like at the tight and it, like cropped.
Chest.
And then like a gross 80s bathing suit like line of
Well, it's like
underwear.
A thong, but they have like nude, like nylon-y kind of things on, right?
Yeah, it's upsetting, and like a gold top hat, and or
yeah, like a Ebenezer Scrooge hat, but like with all this like shit on it. I don't know how they're supposed to dance.
I
in
hate
that.
them.
But they're so gross. And they always like they really skeeved me out as a little kid. Even now, I'm like, girl, put on some clothes. But it's supposed to be like sex sells, you know, like this and that. And even at the end, when he like kisses that girl, I'm like, ugh, nasty. Like never lose that part of you, I guess. Thousands Christmas presents. Okay, one other part that I always stood out was that lady who gets like super injured in the beginning.
Is she dead? Did she die?
I don't know, and I forget like what her injury was. But then when you see her neck, she's like completely bandaged up. Like all her fingers are bandaged.
She's the censor
up.
lady. Yeah.
Yeah. Her head, like she's just like a mess. But that part, so there's this part where he's like kind of having his little breakdown, and he's like all about like Christmas, love everybody, like yay, and he's like mistletoe, like you gotta kiss someone who's under the mistletoe, and he kisses like one of the solid gold ball dancers or whatever. But then like the weird woman who's all bandaged up is like she like sees the like main boss under the mistletoe, but he's all tied up because he was like a hostage by that Bobcat Goldthwait character, and she's like licking her lips. She's like, oh, Mister Whatever, and basically like rapes him. And in this climate, inappropriate.
A lot of things in this movie are the terrorism thing in the beginning with like the plane blows up, the guy bringing a gun to work, like scary. And
The lady was
obviously,
just gross. I'm just like,
yeah,
get
I
over it.
I felt bad for her. She
Why
had a
would-
lot of injuries.
But why did she have a lot of injuries again? Because she was a
Shit
censor
kept
woman?
falling on her.
Oh, shit kept
Like
falling
it was just like the set fell down. She happened to be under it. And I don't know why she didn't just stay home. Like, does she need to be there? Nobody can cover for her. It's fucked up. Yeah, I agree. What? Okay, other things I didn't really understand as a kid. Maybe. Wait, what was this? I thought I wrote it down. Oh, maybe like just in general. Obviously the jokes went over her head. Like I didn't understand who Bob Goulet was and why it was funny that he was like an old-fashioned Cajun Christmas special or the Father Loves Beaver. Like obviously went like way over our heads. And so there's that. There's the scene where he and Claire are exchanging gifts. Okay, so they do this thing where like you can open one gift on Christmas Eve and then you have to wait for the others. So obviously you pick like the best gift to open on Christmas Eve, right? But he's like, Claire, open this one, you'll love it. And it's knives, which is cool, but like they're dating for a year. I don't know if that's a good first
My
year
favorite part
present.
of that scene is that the cab driver that goes to Christmas Path is like, Ginzu. He's like, yep, I know about those.
I know.
Like, I know.
Cut cans.
I know.
Yeah.
You cut cans. Got it. Like, oh my God. I don't know why. I just like love that part.
It is good. So,
dumb
and then
knives.
she gives him the Kama Sutra, which is pretty funny. But then I'm like, ew, gross. You have to have sex with that mullet head.
No, right. And they didn't seem like that sexual of a couple, but like I guess they were, because they just seemed like cute, you know? But that seemed like a strange book to me. I mean, I guess it was like a tasteful Kama Sutra. But he seemed like a shitty boyfriend then.
Why?
No?
Well,
Because he gave her knives?
I guess.
I mean,
I
in
don't
his
know.
mind, I think he thought they were really cool and
Yeah.
she would like him. And she would like whatever she got because she loved him.
True,
I
true,
get
true.
it.
True, true, true.
But that mullet got
to
go.
go. Yeah.
What else did you not
Well, I think that's it. Probably some other things, but I can't
get? Wow, you're so smart.
think of them. I'm sure there's more.
All right, I think we should talk about all the people who are in this movie.
All right.
Because there's a lot of them. Okay, so first off, Danny Elfman did the music. Cool.
I know, and I didn't
Not Tim Burton.
realize that until watching
Movie.
it today, and I heard that like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Danny Elfman.
Yep.
Bingo.
So, so many alum in here. First off, Claire, played by lovely Karen Allen from Indiana Jones and the Sandlot. Yep. Oh, that was it. I was trying to think of what other one she was in. She's lovely in this.
Just
love her bangs,
sweet
love her
Claire.
look, love her clothes.
Sweet Claire.
She's just real sweet. Love her like kind of hippie clothes when she's like got like the Sherpa like first coat on.
In Indiana Jones.
No, in this one.
I was like,
And her little
Mongolia?
nightgown.
Oh.
And like she's taking
Yeah,
a bath.
she's
I want
cool.
like a bathtub like that and put my hair up and be
Oh,
like, hey, honey, I'm
I
in the
know,
bath.
someday.
Like, yeah, that was a cute little apartment for what that was. Like little starter apartment in New York. It's like everyone's dream. Carol Kane, as we said, is the ghost of Christmas Present, and she is in Addams Family.
It is weird because when in that scene where they're at her brother's or whatever, one of the trivia questions is like, what instrument does Lurch play? And I'm like, oh my God, she's
Yeah.
in Addams Family Values.
Totally. Robert Bob Goulet is in Beetlejuice, if you remember.
Yes.
Brian Doyle Murray, first of 3 Murray brothers in this film, is the dad. I forget his first name, Mr. Cross, who is a butcher. And his scene is really funny because he comes home and he's like, I brought you a present. It's Christmas Eve. And he's like, a rack of lamb loins.
Frank's
like,
like,
what is it?
Dad, I asked for a choo-choo. Oh my God. Too sad.
And then like older Frank, when he's looking at that, he's like, oh my God, it's so crazy to know that was like a $50 present with inflation today or something. Like, so funny. Mama Fratelli in a cameo as a homeless woman. Amazing. You
Crazy.
you blink and you miss
I
it.
know.
mean,
I just only saw her
I was like, wait a minute, that looks familiar. And then I did a quick scan of the IMDb. What do you know? I mean, Richard Donner, she's Buds, obviously Buds.
totes.
Bill Murray, Avi, Ghostbusters,
Several things.
and Ghostbusters 2, and is that what we've covered from him?
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. Yep, yeah, we got that. The Gremlins 2 boss, I forget what that guy's name is, but yep. Anybody else?
The mom from the Goonies.
Yes, mom from Goonies.
Who's like one of our top Marge
God.
alums at
She's
this
in
point.
so
She's in
much.
so many things. She's
Yeah.
in Monster Squad, Death Becomes Her, Ghostbusters 2, like just like a
and
lot of
again,
things.
with the diversity of the 80s / early 90s, that boardroom was damn diverse. They had a woman, a black guy, I think maybe an Asian, and Bobcat Goldthwait. So it's super diverse.
his own race.
Okay, what is that guy again? Is he in Police Academy?
He's a
What's his big
comedian.
thing? No, but he's big in one other movie, and I think it's Police Academy.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
As like a reoccurring crazy role.
And he always talks in that
Like,
voice.
nice. Yeah, I think so. Oh.
Oh, I don't really like this voice at all. I mean, I was just trying to.
Ugh. Annoying. I mean, I felt for the dude, but like,
Okay,
you should've
I
gotten
don't
fired.
understand. So he gets laid off or fired, whatever, and he has such a bad day. His wife leaves him.
He's probably a loser anyway, and this was just the icing,
Okay,
you know,
because I was
cherry
like,
on
listen,
top. This one was like,
I
"Get
was
me outta
laid
here."
off and no one dumped me. I wasn't dating anyone, but no one was like, you're a disgrace. You know, it's like,
That'd be
it's the
awful.
climate.
I
Maybe
know.
people just didn't get fired or laid off in the 80s, and so it was a new thing to everyone.
did, but, like,
I mean,
what
when
did-
JC got laid off, I mean, she resigned. That was a little different, but same thing. I
when you
just love those scenes
When
of
you
like
said
the
when
people.
JC laid off, I was like, JC Chazé got laid off?
Didn't I say Wyatt? Oh, I had a dream about it in sync
You
last
just
night.
said JC, and I'm like,
Oh,
what?
But I just love that. I think that's such an 80s thing. Like when someone gets fired, they have to the cardboard box with the belongings. Oh, it's classic.
Yep.
Classic.
Though I have known that has happened for people that have gotten
Well,
fired.
how else are you supposed to take your things home?
Exactly. You do the math. Yeah. Do you think that you would ever go with the name Lumpy as your nickname for your boyfriend?
No, it's the most questionable, lovey-dovey, hilarious nickname I've ever heard in my life. It reminds me, one, of Candyland, even though that's Plumpy, not Lumpy. But I thought it was Lumpy, probably because of this movie. It's Plumpy. But, and it reminds me of, potatoes. And it's just, I don't know. It's not a sexual, I'm not like, Lumpy, come kiss me.
It's not good.
Oh, or Lumpy Adams, the guy with the giant hunchback.
He was actual Lumpy. Yeah, I wouldn't go with that. And the reason she gives him that is because they hit heads, or she hit his head with the door is how they met. So I guess he had a lump or something like that. I don't know. I think you could do better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I just wouldn't go with that. And then you don't really hear her use it anymore, does she?
Oh, at the beginning she used it a bunch, and I kept being like, "What
right.
is this fucking?"
But
Lumpy?
not when they were young, right? Only this time around. But again, going back to oh hey, we broke up 20 years ago, but I got this call from you freaking out. You run over there after not for 20 years and act all lovey-dovey. I don't know. It just seemed
and then,
were they in contact?
Well, it's like the 80s. It's not like Facebook was a thing. You know, you have to think about it in that way, too.
Right.
Or if, you weren't, emailing somebody easily. The only way you could get in touch with somebody was by calling
So
them.
she probably means even she didn't see it. She never saw him then.
Right. Unless they saw each other randomly on the streets, but probably
Right.
not. I don't know.
That was
That's
weird.
weird.
Man. So weird. Did you know that this was the first movie that Bill Murray did since Ghostbusters?
Yeah, he was going to quit acting or
Yes.
something.
He was in Paris or London or
Yeah.
something, and he got this call and was like, okay, I'll do it. But I guess this was kind of a miserable experience for both Bill Murray and the director, Richard Donner. They had a really difficult time with it. They said Bill Murray really wanted all these rewrites, and he did get the whole script rewritten, which was good. But he said it was just kind of a mess of a movie. It was way longer. They had to cut it way down. Richard Donner didn't like working with him. It was just all these things. So that's a bummer because it did come out to be quite a cool piece of art, if you will. What other notes do I have? Oh, did you want to know where the brothers are?
Yes.
Okay. So as I think we said on the Groundhog Day one, because his brother's in that too, and he's in most of his movies with his brother. So the one that he's in most of the movies in is Brian Doyle Murray, who looks like him but is shorter. Much shorter, and has slightly pointier nose, right? But looks very, you can
And
tell
fatter.
that they're brothers, right?
Chubby.
Yep. Okay, so then the second brother is his brother in the movie, James, who's one I don't see very often.
Who played his brother?
Yes, is his real brother.
Oh my God.
I know, crazy. And then the third one is the guy who played, what's his name on Freddie Rumsen on Mad Men.
Oh, yes.
And he was
I
in
forgot.
the charade
That blew my mind
scene.
last time.
He's the friend in
I
the
didn't
charade
even
scene.
notice.
Yes,
Oh,
I know.
man.
Because I kept looking at him, I'm like, oh my God, that actor is so familiar. I'm like, Freddie Rumsen. First I was like, Freddie Rumsen. I'm like, that's the other brother.
Oh, man. I totally forgot about that. That's
Yep.
funny. Wow. Cool. Good trips. Good trips.
Yeah, so very cool acting family. Cool that one played his actual brother, who's his real brother. That's if we were in a movie and I played your sister and I'm your actual sister. Whoa.
Whoa.
Think about it.
Crazy. Question. Which is your favorite ghost?
I guess I'd go with the cab driver one. I really like the early scenes a lot.
Me too.
The early scenes are my favorite. And the present scenes are the saddest, right?
Yeah.
The beginning scenes
I think so.
are, one of the
Well,
beginning
they're all
scenes
pretty
is
sad.
kind of fun.
But I'm also thinking other Christmas Carol adaptions I've seen, I feel like I always prefer the first Ghost, and then the second one I hate. Is the second one traditionally like a bearded man with like a wreath on his head?
I don't remember.
I can't remember now.
I feel like that would be past, but no.
Then who's president?
I don't know.
I don't know. I forget. But yes, I do enjoy the cab driver, even though he scared me a little bit. And I like that he picks up Claire to like at the end as a cab driver. That's confusing. I like the part where all the ghosts are at the end, like chilling and singing and stuff, and like even like his old boss with the mice, and the homeless guy got wings. He became an angel.
Yes.
Wait. Oh my god. Wait. What's the angel's name in It's a Wonderful Life?
No, Clarence. It's not Clarence.
Okay. Because he looks like
It's
Clarence.
like Lenny or something. I don't know. He does look like Clarence. I looked up that actor and I'm like, who is that guy? But like, he didn't look very familiar.
I know. But it's probably just from this movie where I'm like, oh, you're the frozen homeless guy in the sewer. I get it.
Why isn't he just that in the credits?
Did you catch that joke where he's in the sewer and he's like, where am I, Trump Tower? What did that mean? That like...
Because it's shitty or something.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Ugh.
Nice.
Such a
Good.
nightmare now.
I know.
Those were bad jokes.
Yeah.
Elliot Loudermilk. Robert Mitchum in
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
cool.
He plays the actual...
Herman is that.
Herman. Damn it. Yeah, some cool veteran actors in this. William Forsythe is someone... is the boss.
Yep.
His old boss.
Yep.
Lou Hayward. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Robert Mitchum is his like current boss.
Oh, no. And the guy who reads the Christmas
Yeah.
Carol is a famous actor.
Yeah, and he
too.
died like before this came out.
Oh my God, that part where he's like has headphones on like in between sets.
It's funny.
He's like, what's going on? Yeah, that guy is he's top billing. Oh wait, John Forsythe is Lou Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
You said that
Said
one
that.
already.
Check.
Robert Mitchum, check. Buddy Hackett is Scrooge.
Oh, right.
John Houseman is the guy reading the actual
died,
Christmas
yeah.
Carol.
Mhm.
Yeah. So they got a lot of like good oldies, good classic people in here. Do these like little bit parts that are really good. Alfre Woodard, she was great. Oh my God, love her. Love her family. They're fucking adorable. I love when she's like comes in the house. She's like, "Merry Christmas, Cooley family." Like she's just so cool and such a hard worker. And like she's all those kids and like were they like living at the grandmother's house?
I guess. Yeah.
And she has twin daughters, an older boy,
Oh, I didn't
and
even
then
notice
and then little Calvin.
Oh my God, little
And they named
Calvin.
him Calvin because Calvin, Silent Cal. They called that Calvin Coolidge the president, so that's why they named him Calvin Cooley.
But how do they know he's going to be silent when they name? Oh, you mean the people who made this movie?
Yes.
Okay. That really confused me. I was like, wait, he didn't have a name for 5 years?
Be silent.
I love that part where they're like, she's like, where is everyone? And the grandma's like, trimming the tree. She's like, we don't have a tree. And they're like, they dressed up little Calvin and like, that's the Christmas tree. He looks really sad. Poor Calvin. He's real sweet.
What about Mary Lou Retton as Tiny Tim? I always remember that part when I was
Slash
little.
herself. Because for the TV special, they're like, and starring Mary Lou Retton as Tiny Tim. And she does like a crazy flip and
She's
is like,
warming
God bless
up.
everyone.
to
She
warm
throws the crutches away and is like, beep, 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 beep. Pretty classic.
Oh my God, I always remember that part. I was like, so cool, like loving gymnastics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this movie is like so 80s and great.
Oh, yeah. The most 80s part to me, like what's a product that you see and you're like 80s? Like Coca-Cola. But what do you think of when you
Tab.
think of... Yep.
Ew, he's
probably gave
mixing
it away.
Tab and some sort of alcohol.
Whenever someone says Tab or I see Tab, so it's like 80s. Because is it around still? No. It must have gone.
Have you ever had Tab? It's
No.
awful.
What is it?
It was just a diet soda with aspartame.
Oh, I thought it was just a different version of Coke or something.
It was like the first diet like soda, I think.
What's your favorite Tab line?
Tab.
Spiked your
Spiked
tab
tab
with
with Drano.
Drano. Adventures in Babysitting. Good line.
Gotta watch that. Should I spike her tab with Drano? I never got that as
Me
a little
neither.
kid because she
That's what
said
I was
it
gonna
too
say.
fast.
Like we had
Yeah.
no idea what Tab was either. So yeah.
Tab. Yeah. I like the line. He just said you were a flatulating butthead. And Bobcat Goldthwait, the way he says butthead, he goes, butthead. Love that. Okay,
Silly.
Biff.
Oh man.
Yeah, this is a really good one. Like we said, we'll totally get you in the spirit. It's totally random Bill Murray fun as only Bill Murray can provide. Great B cast of all those little supporting players that everyone is like so good at. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I laughed and I cried.
I could tell.
And I was singing Christmas songs all day because of it. So
Wow.
I think this is a winner in my book.
Really turned around for you. Cool.
What?
Cool.
The day?
I
or
don't
Christmas
know your
movies?
Christmas emotions.
Christmas spirit.
Yeah, Christmas
Well,
spirit.
I mean, I do like Christmas movies. They do make me feel like really happy in a hopeless world. Right?
You found Christmas in a hopeless place.
We found Christmas in a hopeless place.
Good one. Yes, I agree. And I think it'll always be one of our family faves.
It'll always be a favorite
when we watch Christmas movies. We'll watch this one because we love Bill Murray.
But don't you know you
We haven't done that in a while. We haven't.
Ooh, you'll always be my Christmas.
We haven't sung a Sweetie original / stealing a song of someone else and inserting nonsense words in a long time.
It's hard.
I love it.
It's hard
Love
to
it.
do.
Oh my
Breaking up is hard to do.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Cool.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
But I miss watching movies with you.
Me
I hope
too.
we get to watch one again
We will.
together soon.
Well, I'm done babysitting tomorrow, so it's all back to normals. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you for listening. Bye. Bye.